Chernobyl, 1986, the worst nuclear disaster in history. Hundreds of thousands of people are exposed to high doses of radiation. Today, children there still feel the effects. Throughout much of Africa, years of drought have left millions malnourished, their bodies unable to fight disease. Throughout India and other parts of Asia, poverty eliminates opportunities for millions of children, their parents, and their grandparents to receive even the most basic medical care. In many of these places, where compassion is almost as hard to find as food and medicine, a small but growing collection of Canadians have found a way to make a real difference in the lives of people they share the planet with. I'm Rick Castiglione. This is a story about Canadian doctors taking Canadian medicine into some of the most remote places on Earth. Places like Malawi in Africa, Belarus, and here in rural Haiti. The medicine is gathered by a Canadian humanitarian organization called Health Partners International of Canada. Theirs is a story about compassion, about commitment, and about hope. Our story begins in Haiti, where in the winter of 2004, anarchy exploded once again, another coup. For the people of Haiti, the struggle has been a long one, decades of corruption, before that, slavery, and always poverty. On a short break from the patients that crowd a waiting room to see him, a Haitian surgeon sings about those struggles. The cupboards in his pharmacy have little to offer those who come looking for help. There are few doctors in rural Haiti, little money to pay them, and even less medicine. Hundreds of kilometers away in rural southern Alberta, another doctor contemplates those same struggles. As he has for most of his career, Dr. Paul Davis prepares to lend a hand. He'll join the surgeon on the hillside and take some Canadian medicine with him. What's in there?
Medications for the poor patients in Haiti.
The journey inside Haiti begins at Port-au-Prince and follows a long, treacherous, potholed highway for 6 grueling hours into the jungle. There are stops for flat tires, concerns about thieves and carjackers, and at times the road seems to disappear. Night falls as the four-wheel drive truck climbs a steep mountain road. It is strewn with boulders, washed out in places by heavy rain and flooding. Suddenly, the entrance to a small hospital in the village of Bonfim appears out of the darkness.
And I always take that ride with dread because I know it's going to be a long, bumpy, hair-raising ride.
In daylight, the medicine and Dr. Davis will travel another hour further up the mountain to a little village called Mark. This tiny hilltop church will be transformed into the Haitian version of a walk-in clinic. Some of his patients will walk for hours up the rocky road and through the lush tropical forest just to get here. Word has spread through the community that Dr. Davis is coming. It's a rare opportunity to see a doctor here and get some free medicine.
So are the crops good this year?
A 70-year-old farmer comes to the clinic complaining of chest pain. Like most of these people, he will walk away with some form of medication.
Bringing the physician travel pack is medicine that I'm familiar with, and so I can use it very readily. I know what I've got, I know what I can treat, and so we can get on with seeing patients.
Julie Francois' mother has hiked several kilometers to the clinic because her little boy's arms and legs have been swelling.
Okay. Is he peeing normally?
Oui.
Yeah.
Dr. Davis suspects some sort of liver problem and convinces the boy's parents to carry him down the mountain to the hospital the next day. There, proper blood and urine tests can be done. Other children go to the hospital with broken bones, with skin diseases, sometimes typhoid or malaria. This 12-year-old girl has come in with a massive malignant tumor on her leg. There is no way to treat the cancer here, so her parents follow the advice of a visiting American doctor and his Haitian colleague and decide to have the leg amputated. She is frightened and alone as the surgery begins. It will take at least 2 hours. The doctors believe it's her only hope for survival. Down the hall, Dr. Davis and a Haitian intern examine a woman suspected of having tuberculosis and HIV. This girl came in malnourished and vomiting worms, possibly picked up from contaminated water.
We're seeing serious illness, often morbid illness. And if we can alleviate just some of that suffering, it's worth my while.
Outside of the operating room, the Haitian doctor performing surgery on the little girl's leg was just informing her parents that she had died. Something had gone wrong during the surgery. There is a lot of grieving going on all over Haiti. Their daughter's tumor was likely curable just a couple of 100 kilometers away in North America, or perhaps even next door in Cuba, but not in Haiti. Julie Francois' mother did bring him to the hospital. He's very ill, but here at least he has a chance of getting the proper treatment from people like Dr. Davis before it's too late.
So often we're the last resort, and people have often gone to the voodoo doctor, the witch doctor, the local clinics, and haven't had success. And so they come to us often on death's door. The neat thing is that many of them actually do respond if you give them the right medicine. And it's really neat to see that, but it's emotionally draining because they come late. Sometimes you just can't get the medicine in fast enough.
The medicine brought to Haiti by Dr. Davis was supplied by Health Partners International of Canada. HPIC collects donated medicines from pharmaceutical companies and packs them into physician travel packs for individuals and organizations to use in the developing world.
And then this is when we're delivering the medicine packs to the local hospitals.
In Montreal, high school student Stephanie Dotto raised money to take several of the travel packs to Malawi in Africa. She was on a trip there with her father, a trip that would change her life.
I like helping people. I like knowing that I can make a difference. I don't like sitting around and just watching. I want to do something.
When she returned to Canada, Stephanie began encouraging her friends and other teens to get involved in the medical aid program. She's now enrolled in nursing school in Montreal with plans to continue helping people in need.
The ripple effect continues. You know, when ripples from my school hit me and I decided to do something, and now I told someone else who decided to do something, and they'll tell someone else who's going to decide to do something, and then pretty soon we'll have all kinds of people doing things, and the world will just be so much of a better place.
Coming up on The Medicine of Compassion, the children of Chernobyl, Canadian medicines helping in the aftermath of a nuclear disaster. Sick kids are going to Cuba and coming to Canada to heal. The stories of some big hearts in 2 small towns.
Ладушки, ладушки, где были у бабушки, что ели?
Her name is Stefania Chablaya, 5 years old and far away from home. She was born in Ukraine, spent her days playing in fields contaminated by radiation from the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Stefania is part of Chernobyl's legacy of cancers and birth defects. A giant tumor on the side of her face was partially removed by a Ukrainian surgeon. She has come to Cuba to have cancer treatment and plastic surgery, and she's not alone. More than 100 other children from Ukraine are here at any given time, getting medical treatment and playing on the beaches. Roman was born with inner ears that are deformed. Nestor's hair keeps falling out. Some of the children have depressed immune systems, others leukemia. At home, their playgrounds are poisoned by radiation. In Cuba, they have a clean beach to play on, safe fruits and vegetables to eat, and clean air to breathe. It's all free.
ambiente natural libre de contaminación.
Here the children can rest in a natural conditions and free from contamination. It's completely free of charge, and about 60% of the children that come here come from orphanages.
Canada became indirectly involved in the project in the mid-90s after a visit to the island by former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. He saw how desperate Cuba was for medicine, returned home, and encouraged a partnership between the Canadian International Development Agency and Health Partners International of Canada.
And it was just marvelous to know that the entire Canadian healthcare industry got on board. And so you look at this legacy of what has happened in Cuba, and it all started with the phone call of one concerned Prime Minister of Canada.
The continuing U.S. trade blockade and the collapse of the Soviet Union in the mid-90s cut off the island's supply of medicines. The shipments of medicine stopped, but the Children of Chernobyl project continued.
13 años y medio de esa situación económica.
And it's been developed in those 13 years in the midst of these difficult conditions.
Nuestro país es un país bloqueado,
Our country has a blockade.
un país pobre,
It's a poor country,
pero
but it offers everything it has, personnel, social conditions, everything it has to help other people.
The Chernobyl children have the same access to Cuba's extensive healthcare system as Cuban children do.
y a mejorar la salud de los niños ucranianos.
We're very grateful for this because we have received a lot of medicines from the people of Canada, which has helped us to help the people from Ukraine.
As this program was growing, another one was beginning in Canada. In the town of Brockville, Ontario, Dave Shaw heard about what was happening in Belarus, about the cancers and other illnesses that children were dealing with as a result of Chernobyl. From his clothing store on the main street in Brockville, he began collecting medical supplies and equipment to send to Belarus and to bring children to Canada, spending their summers playing in the waters of the St. Lawrence, getting well. Tanya Garavaya was 8 years old when Dave Shaw met her near Chernobyl on his first trip there. Dave and his wife Susan brought Tanya to Brockville to see a doctor.
She arrived with deemed over there as an invalid, but we didn't realize that. And it was a letter from her family, and the words that we can remember to this day is, "Please help my baby. She has a life-threatening kidney disorder." And after a proper diagnosis, she was deemed with a serious bladder infection that she'd had probably 7 of the 8 years of her life. She went on antibiotics. We phoned her mom, told her that when their daughter arrived back to Belarus, she'd be healthy. And for that family, it was a miracle.
More?
Since Tanya's first visit, the entire town of Brockville has become involved. Families organize the transportation and accommodation to bring dozens of children from Belarus to Canada every summer. They spend their days in a healthy environment, playing on the shores of the St. Lawrence, tubing behind a boat, and getting well. Masha was physically and emotionally abused by a mother, then a foster mother. She was ill from radiation poisoning. Christina came to stay with Jackie Page and her family for the summer. The heart condition she's surviving is common among the children whose parents were exposed to heavy doses of radiation.
Constant exposure to radiation suppresses the immune system. People who were perfectly healthy when I left 6 months ago are now hospitalized with chronic asthma. And they'll basically, without the help of Health Partners International and Canadian Aid for Chernobyl, working in partnership, they'll suffocate without question. They're on their deathbed. It's actually spread the radiation right throughout the Republic.
As he looks over a map of their homeland, Dave Shaw sees a problem that is far from over. In fact, he believes the worst may be yet to come.
It's in its infancy. The cry for help is now more than ever before because the nation is getting weaker and weaker.
Hello.
Miran Ladienko was extremely ill when he arrived in Canada. Within days, his health began to improve dramatically.
It's the worst thing when your baby is ill. So, I don't know. I'm so lucky and so happy because this trip brought lots of peace in my family. So now
All of these children will eventually go home, from Canada and from Cuba. Now they have a fighting chance for survival when they get there. When the medicine of compassion continues, helping seniors to survive when no one else will offer a healing hand. In the 1950s, Havana seemed destined to become the Las Vegas of the Caribbean. It was another American playground, financed in part by the American mafia.
Está en Cuba.
All of that ended with a revolution led by Fidel Castro. The American influence was sent packing, and Soviet-made missiles began arriving. Now, the missiles are gone, but 4 decades later, a punishing trade blockade imposed by the United States continues. Throughout that economic crisis, Cuba has developed 2 of its most important natural resources: tourism with its spectacular beaches, and a healthcare system by developing remarkable doctors. Thousands of doctors now being exported to other countries.
I am from Ayacucho, Peru.
At the Latin American School of Medicine, Cuba trains young doctors from all over the developing world free of charge.
Yes, I've been here since February of 2002.
James Creedon is from New York City and just starting his 3rd year in Cuba. He wants to take his medical training back to the United States to help the millions of people there with little access to proper medical care.
In the United States, it would cost them $200,000, $250,000 to be able to study medicine. So the poor families don't have this. A very limited group of persons can pay for it.
What Cuba and many of those countries have been struggling with is a lack of certain medicines and vaccines. From this small warehouse in Mississauga, Ontario, millions of dollars worth of medicines are being packed and shipped to the developing world by Health Partners International of Canada. In Cuba, the charity has agreed to send $15 million worth of medicine over the next 5 years. Some of it will end up in small community hospitals in Havana and in rural areas like the village of Santa Cruz. The Cuban Council of Churches is now receiving large shipments of medicine to distribute to seniors, as many as 2,000 seniors without families to care for them. There was celebration at this church when they were told about the new medicine arriving.
Cambió por completo. Había sonrisa, había alegría.
Their faces changed. They were so happy, they were gay. They were asking them, are there any antibiotics? Are there any vitamins?
Commuting between Toronto and Havana, Deborah Collins has been put in charge of the Cuban program.
The elderly are often a group of people that get marginalized, and we forget that they have had careers and families and professions, and they have a lot to contribute.
The Canadian Embassy in Havana believes the long-term controlled nature of this medical aid program is what Cuba needs most.
And there is a whole know-how around that. And you know, in this particular initiative, both Health Partners and the Cuban government and Ministry of Health have that know-how.
Cuba may receive the largest shipments of Canadian medicine, but it's not the only country benefiting from this private humanitarian aid. On a dusty side street in the city of Lacaille, Dr. Davis makes house calls to a senior citizen's home. Living here is the only option for these men and women. They don't have families to care for them. They don't have money to pay for even the most basic of healthcare needs.
Well, ever since I graduated, I've always felt that we, the wealthy in the world, need to be contributing to the poor of the world. I like Haiti, which we've been coming to for 5 years, because of its proximity, and it is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. 80% of the people, according to the UN, live in poverty. And we do a small bit, but it's a big help to the patients whose lives we save.
In their struggles to survive, these visits are seen as nothing short of a miracle. The doctor comes not just with pills, but with information as well. He mentors young Haitian doctors like Rudolph Richmay, a young physician from Port-au-Prince.
I think his heart is broken by seeing a lot of miseries going on. So that's why he's trying to put himself into that, trying to get medications and trying to learn more. He keeps on reading and reading to discover how to treat, how to manage everything. So I think he has a great spirit, and I'm blessed by spending time with him, learning and also interacting with him.
There are good people from across Canada that have taken this medicine into more than 90 countries over the past 10 years. It's a mixture of medicine and compassion.
Basically, we want to just facilitate other people that are actually on the ground doing the hard work. That's why we provide medicines in our travel packs to physicians that are going. They're giving up a couple of weeks of their vacation. They're paying their own airfare. All we're doing is helping to make it a little easier for them to take medicines with them when they go. And many of them do this 3-4 times a year.
We can't bring healing to the world, but we can bring healing to one person at a time. And that's what we're trying to do. Canada cannot meet the medical needs of the poor around the world, but we can sure do our share.
The people at Health Partners International of Canada like to consider themselves as servants to the servants. If you want to get involved and send some medicine overseas, you can. You can contact HBIC at this address. I'm Rick Castiglione. Thanks for watching.
Kem nan kem desan mwen tout doucement.